Hi, everybody. Well, I'm batting 1,000 when it comes to flying home. I don't think I haven't been delayed in the past 7, 8 months. Okay, so just as I was getting ready to head to the airport, I was all packed, my backpack was on and everything, I was all set. I was going to go take the electric trains in Sydney out to the airport, and bang, I got a text message saying that your flight will be delayed and we will email you updated times. And I said, uh-oh. Because I know there was a cyclone and everything coming this way, sort of, over New Zealand, where we kind of fly over. And then I knew Canada, United States were having some storms as well. I didn't know where. So I said, okay, let's just head to the airport. And I have the lounge there, so worst case scenario, I can sit in the lounge and I can edit some videos or work and stuff like that. So I headed to the airport and I got a text message that my flight was leaving 2 hours, 2.5 hours later than it was supposed to. I said, okay, that's not so bad. And then I looked at the time and guess what? My connecting flight in Vancouver canceled. Great. All right. That's not good. So as I'm getting to the airport, I get all these text messages. You have been rebooked on this flight. 2 seconds later, that flight is canceled. You have been rebooked on this flight. 10 seconds later, that flight is canceled. They kept rebooking me and canceling me. So by the time I got to the airport, my flights have completely changed. So I'm leaving Sydney now, 2.5 hours later. Then they were booking me. Now from there, I land in Vancouver. I had about a 2-hour layover. And then I go from Vancouver to Ottawa direct flight. All of this in business class because it's flying 20 hours, right? You want to be able to sleep. Well, I get to the airport and my messages are now saying that I'm no longer flying to Ottawa. I'm now flying to Toronto. Not only that, the flights in Toronto flying me to Ottawa were all canceled and I would miss those, or the one that they still had me on, I missed the connection. I have like 5 minutes to get to off the plane and to the other plane, plus my luggage would have to get there from the other plane. Would never happen. Never in a million. And that's not boarding in 5 minutes. That's leaving in 5 minutes. So it wasn't going to work. So I get to the Air Canada counter in Sydney and I have a very nice conversation with the lady there. And they're trying to rebook me and things like that. And then I also notice, oh, by the way, your business class from Vancouver to Toronto to Ottawa is now economy, which I've already paid for, and they're not cheap. Flying from Australia to Ottawa and vice versa is not cheap in business class. The only reason we did it is to try and make sure that we weren't dead to the world when we arrived in Australia to fly, to run around for New Year's Eve and things like that, which we still were. But, so we start working on that. And then we finally, they have she has to actually call 2 or 3 other people to get the system to change me back to business class on the planes. And then they realized, then they started working on, they canceled the flight that I would not make because there's only 5 minutes left. I said, there's no way I can make it there. She goes, yeah, you're right. But she said, but maybe that flight will be delayed. Okay, I'm not going to book my flight based on another flight maybe being delayed. So about a half hour, I'm sitting there at the counter and we finally get it all worked around. So everything's lining up now. I finally get on the plane. It's a nice flight, flying over, and I land. And my next flight is magically delayed. Ottawa to Toronto, so Vancouver to Toronto is now delayed as well. Great. So I wander around the Vancouver airport for a while because where they put you for the next flight, I didn't have access to the lounge, which I had the first time, because that was for international travel. And domestic travel is different area of the airport. So I couldn't get over to the lounge from where I could find. So I wandered around for a few hours waiting for my delayed flight to take off, and then I fly to Toronto. And then I land in Toronto, and I go to the Toronto Pearson Airport Lounge, and you guessed it, my next flight is now delayed as well. So I had, on this trip, 3 flights. All 3 flights were delayed. Different cities. All 3 flights were delayed. I was booked on 2 flights that I would never make. And I was booked on 2 flights that were canceled before I even took off. And they put me in economy when I'm booked in business class when they refared me. Not only that, I was in a middle seat in economy. That's never going to happen. I'm going to be in an aisle or I'm going to be in a window. I'm never taking that middle seat. I will spend 7 days in the city before flying in a middle seat unless I'm with people I know, because I've had too many horrible experiences sitting in the middle seat where I'll have people on each side who want to talk to each other, and when I say, oh, would you guys like to change seats? They say, no, that's okay. I like the window, and this person always has to go to the washroom, so they want to be in the aisle. But they're doing this. And I'm like, I felt like, like the gangster in Dumb and Dumber when Jim Carrey and them were, you know what the most annoying sound in the world, that joke? Well, that's my experience in middle seats. So yeah, it was a very interesting thing. As you can see, I finally got home after about 30 hours of flying and sitting in the airports. I did manage to get, maybe 4 hours sleep in that time. So I think tonight I will drop like a log and probably wake up. Today is Wednesday. I'll probably wake up Friday.